DPS Fund. Morning, DPS Finance, Joe speaking.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for coming and welcome to the Mentor Protege Relationship Panel Discussion. Before we begin, we have a few housekeeping rules. We ask that you mute yourself, and yes, we are recording, as you can tell. And the agenda is in the chat, and our Zoom master will put it in a few more times for you. Your moderator tonight has been a Toastmaster since 2014. Mitesh is a former Area C6 Director in District 72 and is a current Division B Director in District 33. His home club is Cronulla Sutherland Toastmaster Club in Sydney, Australia in District 70. He is a member of 8 clubs in 5 districts across the United States, India, and Australia. Mitesh is truly a global Toastmaster. Tonight, Mitesh will be completing the Presentation Mastery Level 5 Project 2 Promote a Panel Discussion. I am very proud and very honored to introduce to the virtual stage your moderator, Toastmaster Mitesh Popat.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is. Welcome to the panel discussion. Here we are bringing all the people together across the globe. And I would like to thank the panelists and you for joining us for this very special and meaningful panel discussion on mentor-protege relationship. Let us review our event first. We will first kick off by having our panelists introduce themselves, and we will get into the discussion later. This will be followed by a Q&A session wherein the audience will private Zoom chat me any question they have for the panelists. We will respond to as many as possible as the time allows. This will be followed by a wrap-up from me. So let's begin this. Our first panelist is Distinguished Toastmaster Jennifer McGhee. Jennifer McGhee, would you like to introduce yourself? Over to you, Jennifer McGhee.
I would love to introduce myself. Thank you, Mitesh, for having me this evening. I am Jennifer McGhee, DTM. My home club is Network Voice Toastmasters Club, where I have been a member for 25 years. I come from District 31, which is where Network Voice resides. Thank you, District 31, for coming and supporting this event, supporting Audrey and Mitesh as they conduct the panel discussion. And District 31, for those of you who don't know, covers Eastern Massachusetts and Rhode Island in the United States. Soon we will be merging with our fellow Toastmasters in Canada, so it will look a little bit different coming soon. And we were asked to talk about how long, or at least to briefly introduce how long we have been mentoring others. For myself, it's been many years. I don't know if I could put a number on it, but I've been in Toastmasters for 25 years. I feel like I probably started mentoring fairly early on. I've also mentored in my professional world as well, where I focus on data strategy and governance, and I've mentored across numerous collaborating teams in the professional environment. So I have a lot of experience both in Toastmasters and outside of Toastmasters. I hope that answers all of your questions, Mitesh. I'll hand it over to you for the next one.
Thank you, Distinguished Toastmaster Jennifer McGhee. Now we move on to our second panelist. Our second panelist is Distinguished Toastmaster Gillian Sheldon. Gillian, would you like to introduce yourself? Over to you, Gillian.
Thank you very much, Mitesh. Fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests, thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Gillian Sheldon, DTM. I am a member of District 65 and a member of several clubs, but the first one I'll say is High Risers Advanced Toastmasters, which is a relatively new club focused on people that are looking at advancing and doing these lengthier speeches that Dawn was talking about earlier. So that's really the focus of High Risers and the Advanced Toastmasters. We are based in central Western New York. So we cover really from just Utica right up to the Buffalo area and right out to Binghamton and one club in the Pennsylvania area. We will be merging and we will be part of the new amalgamated District 53 next year. So that is going to be a really exciting change that I'm looking forward to. When it comes to mentorship, a bit like Jennifer mentioned, I've been mentoring for so many years in my professional career. I won't date myself, but many years in my professional career. And within Toastmasters, I've been a Toastmaster for 10 years. And the first role I stepped up to in Toastmasters was the VP of membership. And that was really to push me out my comfort zone, but also to help push others. So that was a really introduction for mentoring in Toastmasters to me. And I've been mentoring ever since. Really looking forward to continuing this discussion this evening. And I'll hand it back to you, Mitesh.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Gillian Sheldon. So our next and the final panelist tonight is distinguished Toastmaster Dawn Jenkins. Dawn Jenkins, would you like to introduce yourself, please? Over to you, distinguished Toastmaster Dawn.
Thank you, Mitesh. I am Dawn Jenkins. I am in Toastmasters for Writers in Burbank, California. We are part of District 52 that extends from downtown LA northward through Santa Clarita, westward to Malibu and the ocean in the Pacific. But we will be merging northward all the way to Central California come January, and it'll be District 202, vastly expanding our current district outline. That's going to be quite an experience, I think. So I've been in Toastmasters for 11 years now, since 2009. And I have been mentoring individuals, groups, and all kinds of people, including 2 new Toastmasters clubs that I mentored that actually are still alive and thriving today. I'm so proud of them. They learn so well. I've been doing other kinds of mentoring probably all my life. My parents were both teachers, and it just comes in my blood that I want to be of service and help people learn new things. So thank you for coming here tonight and joining all of us. Thank you, Mitesh. You sound muted. You're muted.
Still muted.
Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Dawn Jenkins. So now we move on to our panel discussion. As a reminder to the timer, each question will be timed from 7 to 9 minutes, including all the panelists discussing together. So let's start with our first question tonight. Our first question is, what inspired you to become a mentor or a protege? Who would like to go first?
I can go first if you'd like, Mitesh.
Please go for it.
To answer the question, I first became a mentor because I realized that leadership isn't about what you achieve alone, but about how you enable others to grow and succeed. I think back to when I first joined Toastmasters, similar to what Dawn mentioned in her introduction. It wasn't very long before someone tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to become the VP of membership in our club. If it wasn't for that person having the confidence in my leadership abilities and supporting me as I took on that role, I don't think I would be here today. In fact, I'm not even sure that Stefano would be in his leadership position within Toastmasters International, because it started with my involvement in Toastmasters, and it evolved from there. So I think that's really important. But I'd also like to share briefly that one of the things that sparks a desire for me to help others and to mentor is because I've also had the experience of having bad mentors. Sometimes you get a mentor who says that they're going to be there to help you and guide you and support you along your journey, and then they don't show up. They don't provide any input. They blow off your meetings. Those kinds of experiences can be really deflating. And that is a little bit of what drives me as well, is that I don't want to be that person. I want to show up for the people around me. I want to help them be better at what they strive to achieve. Again, similar to what Dawn said earlier, I've mentored members in the club. I've mentored people professionally. I've mentored members of Toastmasters outside of our club, and I've also mentored clubs themselves. It just takes one person to start to build upon someone's confidence to have a ripple effect. And that ripple effect makes that person a better leader, but it makes the club that they're in a slightly better club for each person who takes on a little bit more of a leadership role. And that continues to build to what ultimately supports the evolution of Toastmasters and our goal and our mission in this organization.
I couldn't agree more, Jennifer. I truly think that it's funny. I was telling my mum I was going to be on this panel, and she said she was asking the questions, and she mentioned that when I was 5 years old, I took somebody home on the first day that I was allowed to walk home from school myself because I wanted to make sure that person could go home okay. So that there was no definitive moment for me. I think a lot of the true power of mentorship is within your own blood. You know, it's really that human ability to be able to connect and want to help others move forward. And I don't say that there is that piece where you go, oh, yes, I really want to mentor somebody. I think it will come more naturally and think, you know, I have skills or I have something that I can do for this person. So I really want to be able to transfer some knowledge and work with them to build for them to grow and for them to move forward in their journey. So certainly, you know, for me, that's my purpose, to help others move forward. So mentorship just comes naturally. Sometimes it's too natural and I have to learn to stop to say, no, don't do it, don't take any more. But at the end of the day, I truly think it's one of the most valuable roles that you can actually do is to help others grow in something that they are keen to show. Back to you, Mitesh.
I can go next.
Go ahead, Dawn.
Okay, folks. So I, like my two compadres here, have always been drawn to being of service and helping other people. Certainly, one of the things my mother did is teach dancing. And so she had me helping her dance classes when I was very young. And I was always helping people learn new steps. And it was just a natural thing for me. When I got on Toastmasters, they desperately needed a vice president education. I don't know, anybody else have a club like that? Nobody wanted to be vice president education. And the person who'd been vice president education, VPE, had left. So I did not have a mentor. And I read the Toastmasters information and I saw that I was supposed to create a club mentoring program and do club new member orientations. So I said, oh my goodness. So I started working on that right away and mentoring everybody it says through the first three speeches in Toastmasters. So that was my original focus when I became VPE, is how do I connect with each person? One of the previous people who had been VPE had sent out a questionnaire with all kinds of formal questions on what their goals were in Toastmasters and when did they think they would fulfill them and those kind of questions, and they got zero responses. So what I learned from that right from the beginning is to start asking these people in our club open-ended questions about what would you like to do next? What would you like to learn? You know, how can I help? So those kind of questions made all the difference in the world. And I'm still mentoring anytime anybody asks. But I agree with you, Gillian. The big question sometimes is not being over responsible and having enough balance that we don't get burned out or overwhelmed because we have too much to do. So that is always a lesson for me. So thank you very much, Mitesh.
It also sounds like we all came from parents who were teachers, but I'd like to caveat it by saying you do not need to have parents who are teachers to be a mentor.
That's right. You don't. Okay, how are we doing on time for that first
Thank
question? Are we too quick? I can't see the timer.
I don't see. Well, I saw. Oh,
There you are, Venkat. So if we're not up to 6 minutes, we could chat some more, right?
Yeah, we are at 6:49. We have 2 more minutes. Seven. I mean, we can 2 more
We can
minutes. We
go
can
as
have.
far as
Yeah.
9. All right, so I'm no longer VPE. I was VPE for 8 years, I think 8 years, and now I'm VPM, but I'm VPE assistant to our new VPE. Anybody been that? VPE has way too much to do, doesn't it? So I'm still doing VPE even though I'm VPM this year, and I'm still our pathways. I'm calling it team leader because I want to learn to delegate. I don't want to be the pathways everything in our district. It's just too much.
well, and I think Dawn, you had mentioned, and Jillian had mentioned that you don't want to overcommit yourself to anything really, but as a mentor, it is important that you have the time to allocate to that relationship. And I think that ties nicely into what I was saying earlier, or not so nicely, but ties into what I was saying earlier about my first mentor protege relationship that was really disappointing for me because my mentor didn't show up, didn't make the time, would cancel when we had meetings on the calendar. That's not helpful. And you want to encourage people to reach out and get the help and the guidance that they need. So don't overcommit yourself. You're better off leaving it for someone else if you don't have the time. That's important from a mentoring perspective.
Yep, totally. Mitesh, do you want to go to the next question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your insights, all panelists. It was indeed very interesting. Now, our next question is, what is one surprising, lesser known aspect of mentor protege journey? Repeat, what is one surprising or lesser known aspect of mentor protege journey? Who
I
would
can
like
go.
to go?
I can go
Please,
first.
go for it, please.
So one of the things that when Pathways rolled out, everybody around me in our club was groaning. And I realized that I was VPE and that if we were going to accept and learn this new program, I had to learn it first. So one of the things I've seen is whenever we have to teach something, we learn it better because we have to be able to explain it to someone else. And I think one of the unexpected benefits of being any kind of mentor is how much you learn yourself, how much you have to learn the thing it is you want to teach. And so I started reading every project word for word to learn them all. You know, it wasn't all visible initially. We just could see the icebreaker. Everybody put up a big fuss. And luckily, they listened, and suddenly all the projects were open. We could read any project on any level, and we could learn them all. We could pick which ones we want to do in which order, and that gave me availability to study them all. But I don't think I would have read them cover to cover if I hadn't been a mentor trying to help other people. So I think I learned so much, and every time I've taken a mentoring role, I learn more, I think, about the subject and also about relationships, how to work with a new person and to treasure them and honor them. How about you guys?
Well, I can piggyback off of that, Dawn. I do, I do agree with you. I think that there's so much to be learned from that relationship, and that is one of the things. As I was thinking about the questions earlier, I was definitely reflecting back on just how beneficial the mentor-protege relationship can be, both inside of Toastmasters and outside of Toastmasters. And it's not just about the concepts that you're discussing, but when you are working with another person one-on-one and trying to help them along their journey, you're going to have the opportunity to experience a whole new perspective. As the mentor, I have my own experiences and I can provide my own insights from those experiences. But it's going to be different from my protege, and how the protege wants to approach their goals is going to be different from how I might think about approaching them. The skills that they're going to leverage as they're thinking about what their goals are might be different from how I would approach them. When we look at Toastmasters and the projects and even what goals you're setting for yourself in the program, we all come to Toastmasters with a slightly different objective. And so really understanding that objective and then watching how your protege takes your guidance and converts that into their strategy can be really insightful for you, the mentor, to learn new approaches, new perspectives, sometimes new skills. And one other thing I would add to that, and I'm sure Gillian wants to add some additional information, is that one of the really important things that I have learned from the mentoring protege relationship that I don't think is mentioned often enough is that that relationship needs to be one that is built on trust. And I say that because as the mentor, the protege needs to feel comfortable sharing whatever they're thinking, whatever they're feeling in a confidential environment so that they feel safe being transparent with you, with the things that they're struggling with or the people that they're struggling with and what they might need your help with. So that trust in that relationship is just so critical to the mentor protege relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I echo what these amazing ladies have said. I think, however, one thing that I would add, that would pivot slightly differently is there's formal mentorships and there's informal mentorships. And sometimes we get so caught up on having the formal mentorship piece. I think especially in Toastmasters where you're looking at the paperwork and the goals and stuff, make sure that you don't discount the informal mentorship piece. For example, if you are doing your first evaluation, talk to somebody that's done an evaluation, sit and say, can you just mentor me right now and just show me what I'm doing because I'm giving an evaluation in the next couple of weeks. But that's another key point. And Jennifer, I love what you said about the whole talking to them, understanding what they're looking for. It's almost like you're doing a mini evaluation. What do you need? What's the purpose of this for you? And then you, as the evaluator as such, is taking that and saying, okay, here's what I can do. Here's my thoughts and how I can bring that to what you need. So again, there is more of that critical thinking that is really important for the whole Toastmasters program, but the foundation starts with the evaluations and the mentorship program. Don't ever discount that Pathways has a mentoring program that you can do that will help you walk through some of these, surprising aspects that you might think, oh, I didn't realize that. But I will circle back and say the biggest thing that you will realize from the mentoring relationship is what Dawn said. It is a two-way street. You learn as much as the protege learns. It definitely is learning for both people. So again, Dawn, Jennifer, you had some really amazing thoughts there, but the biggest thing that I would add is there's a formal to informal piece.
Since our time isn't up, I would say, Jennifer, you and I both do a lot of informal mentoring, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would say that as well.
Before you all came in, we were talking about the fact that I find myself mentoring all the time because when you've held a role in the club and somebody is going to take over that role, you are mentoring them. You're the past, whatever the role is, and they don't, they're brand new at it, and they obviously need some support. So it's a support position. You know where to find things. You know how things are. You don't have to tell them how to do it, but you can say, I'm here to support you, to help you, to assist you as long as you need to help, not to over support, but as much as they want and to feel them out. Would you like support? Ask them those questions.
Right, to be a sounding board for them.
We all have contests coming up this spring in these massively enlarged districts. So I would assume that whatever level of mentoring you've already been doing, there's just such a wonderful opportunity for mentoring new people across the world. Yeah, as we all come together and work together, and many of us for the first time.
And I'll add very quickly to that. I think Dawn made an important point there. You're not stuck to mentors within your club or within your area, division, district. It's an international organization. Reach out, ask anybody. I mean, again, if you've been to convention, you will realize that every single Toastmaster is there to help. We share the journey, we share the opportunities and the passion for growth. So again, look at it from an international perspective and don't be afraid to reach out and ask.
And we're at yellow, so I bet we can move on. You're muted.
Thank you for your insight. Thank you for your perspective on this question. So we learned a lot of things about how to bring up our experiences, our mentor protege questions, and if we want to, and how it fits our quest. So now I move on to the third question. Our third question is, can each one of you share a defining moment from your own mentorship experience that shaped your approach? Can each one of you share a defining moment from your own mentor-protege mentorship relationship that shaped your approach? Who would like to begin?
I'll start, but I think I'll start, and I think Jennifer will probably piggyback onto what I was going to say. But again, what shaped what kind of mentor I want to be is the second mentor I had that was really poor. It was that bad mentoring experience. I had a fairly good mentor to start with, and then I had a very bad mentor, wouldn't return calls, wouldn't answer emails, and I started going into a panic about what do I do? Oh my goodness, what do I do? And again, it was one of these other people that stepped up and said, don't worry about it, we've got you. And really set the stage. But I think for me, it was always about being there, showing up, listening, and making sure that you interpret what they have said as to, I hear you're saying this, is that right? Because again, we all have our own filters, we all have our own biases in a sense, but so making sure you're actually listening and comprehending what your mentor is saying, that really, I think, helps set the tone for the mentorship experience. Because again, I think it was Jennifer that mentioned about the trust piece earlier on as well.
Yeah.
That sets the foundation of trust. So having that, showing up, being there, and even saying, I'm not sure about that, being open about what you don't know, but then saying, let me find out and I'll get back to you. And following up is really important, I think, for me. That the experiences that I have with mentors shapes me and how I become a better mentor time and time again.
I'm piggybacking off of that, Gillian. As we've had this conversation, again, as I was thinking about it ahead of our discussion today, I was also reflecting on the difference between mentoring and coaching. oftentimes I think it's easy for people to confuse the two and think about mentoring as being an opportunity to teach someone a very specific skill or need. But from a mentoring perspective, and this is one of the lessons that I think I learned from one of my good mentors, is that mentoring is not about molding someone into my path or into doing things a specific way, but it's really about giving them the support and the guidance for them to clarify and pursue their own path, their own strategy, their own goals, and doing it in their own way. There are certain things within our Toastmaster program. We have guidelines and that we need to follow, right? And within pathways, each of our projects has specific objectives that we're looking to accomplish. But we expect that our proteges are going to approach those with their own lens to what they're trying to accomplish. So I had a mentor in my professional life that really helped shape the way I thought about mentoring, because one of the first things that she did when I sat down to meet with her was she asked me some probing questions, and then she really listened. And if you look at Toastmasters and the mentoring project within Toastmasters, one of the lessons learned is the act of listening. She wanted to hear what I was in this relationship to gain, what my goals were, what my challenges were. But she didn't want to give me the answers or the solutions to those challenges. She then asked me some probing questions and she sent me away with some homework and said, we'll meet in a couple of weeks. I want you to work on a couple of things for me, things that made me reflect on where I was and where I want to be going, so that when I came back to our next conversation, I had some clarity on where I was headed with this mentoring relationship. And so from then on, I realized it's really important to let the mentee drive the conversation and let the mentee really own that relationship. You want to show up and you want to be there and you want to support them on their journey, but we're not there to tell them how to do it. We're there to help them find the answers. We're there to help them teach them to fish versus giving them the fish.
Excellent, you guys. I would say I joined Toastmasters in 2009, so 16 years ago, and the club I joined didn't have a mentorship program at all. We didn't have mentors. And then when I went into Toastmasters for Writers, I didn't have a mentor. So I never went anywhere where I had a mentor, but I really pushed myself to learn everything. And then I realized how important it was for everyone who joins a club who's brand new to get support in learning about meeting roles and having the courage to get up and give their icebreaker and some support. And that experience of not having a mentor really promoted my eagerness to not have other people just go into a club and feel completely like they're a stranger in a strange land. Now, when I was really young, super young, what century did I talking about? But I'd done the fire walk with Tony Robbins and the Mind Revolution, and I joined a group of excellence, it was called. And I had a mentor named Jackie Fuchs, who actually her stage name was Jackie Fox, and she was in the Runaways. And she was coaching everyone. She was their mentor. She asked me and one other girl to head one of the guest events for Robbins Research for an upcoming fire walk. And she watched the two of us go through the material together for a Q&A with an audience. And so she watched us very carefully and listened to us. And she told me, Dawn, you are very confident when you are helping, when you're teaching, when you know you're being of service, and that's why you're there. You're just completely natural, at ease, and confident. When you focus on yourself, you become very self-conscious. I said, yes. And she said, the other girl, you're the opposite. When you focus on the material, you get overwhelmed. But when you focus on yourself, you become very centered. And I thought, wow, we're very different but we both did so much better with that feedback. So when we get mentor members in our club who come to me and say, I am just having the hardest time getting over brain freeze. I'm just so scared every time I'm at the lectern. I say, well, what if you focused on the fact that you're there for a reason? That there's a service that you're giving the club, one way or the other. It's to educate, to inform, to entertain, to bring humor, whatever it is. If you focus on them, you might find yourself feeling much more confident. So that experience really does inform how I mentor people, certain people. And other people, I say, well, maybe focus on yourself, center yourself. Because we're all different, and it has helped them. I will say I'm grateful because I do see people thriving. And this includes when I've been a club mentor with clubs, brand new clubs. Like, I am so dazzled of what a benefit it is to be a club mentor because, hey, folks, it got me over this idea that you can be a brand new member and suddenly take a role of Toastmaster of the day or general evaluator or evaluating. And it's like your third meeting, you know, and you haven't even given, you've just given your icebreaker, maybe. And you're taking roles that in our club are reserved for people who have more experience. So it's got me past the restrictions we may have had or I had in my mind now that people can take on things that I just have to acknowledge they may have inner resources beyond what their time in Toastmasters may say. So I'm happy for all those experiences. And I know we're at yellow, so we can move on unless there's something else someone wants to say.
I do, but I'm going to incorporate it into our next question.
Thank you for sharing your experiences. So this question really gave us an idea of how did someone find a new mentor. So now we move on to our next question. Our next question is, can you share a specific example of your mentor or protege when your mentor or protege challenged you and what was the outcome? Can you share a specific example of how and when your mentor or protege challenged you and what was the outcome? Who would like to go first?
I think Jennifer should go first because I'm intrigued as to what that answer
Please.
was.
Well, to piggyback off of what Dawn was saying, as I think about some of the challenges I've faced, they also have translated into lessons that I have learned from mentoring, which is the fact that every mentor-protege relationship is different. That as the mentor, you can't and you don't need to have all of the answers. And you really need to understand and meet your protege where they are. So with all of that said, I have a couple of examples I was thinking about that I think hone in on those concepts. One of them was that I did have a protege at one point who showed up for our first meeting, and she was unbelievably prepared. She already knew what all of her goals were. She knew what all of the milestones were. She had a roadmap for how she was going to get there. And as the mentor, it was a little intimidating because I was thinking, what does she need me for? What am I going to do to help this person who seems to have it all mapped out and is ready to go? But what she was looking for was someone to hold her accountable for her goals and to help her if she got off track, if she needed help with prioritization, if she got too caught up in the details of her plan and couldn't be flexible when life happens. So it gave me an opportunity to meet her where she was and tailor our relationship to what she needed from me. And it wasn't what some of my other proteges had needed. Also, I've had the opportunity to mentor clubs. And when you're working with a club, I think that's another opportunity to say, let me meet the club where they are, because even though I have a lot of experience in Toastmasters and I've seen a lot of different clubs and I know what has worked and what hasn't worked, and some of that is applicable to a new club, you also have to realize that each club is formed for its own unique reason. Someone saw a need for Toastmasters in a community or in a corporation, but why they saw a need may be different. The makeup of the club, the people who are attending those meetings may be different. The environment that they're working in, for example, a corporate club can be a very different environment, and each corporation is going to be different versus a community club. You have to understand what you're working with, and I can't show up to each of those clubs knowing exactly what they need and having all of the answers, but I can listen, I can understand, and then we can work together to figure out what that journey forward looks like. So, just to summarize, you don't have to know it all. Sometimes the relationship challenges you because you're not sure what they're looking for or what you can provide in the relationship. And you need to listen and meet the protege where they are.
Absolutely. Do you want to go next, Gillian, or you want me to?
Carry on.
Okay. Like I said, I really didn't have a one-on-one mentor in Toastmasters except in about 2018 or 19 when we first had that big update in Pathways that allowed us to do any project on any level. Our new district trio wanted a Pathways chair to lead district workshops in Zoom for everybody. And one of our district leaders started doing that, and she wanted to move on. She's actually become a member of the Burbank City Council. Go girl. But they needed someone to take her place, and there was a big hall full of crickets. Nobody wanted to lead Pathways. So they asked me because they knew I was super into Pathways in our club, and they really wanted me to lead the whole district and do workshops. Now, at that time, it was before COVID, so I'd never done anything on Zoom. So they really mentored me. I will say that they may not have had a formal, like, oh, we'll mentor you, Dawn, but they convinced me that I had all the inner resources and intelligence and skills to learn this. So I stepped into it. I had someone as my Zoom master initially. And then over time, they were doing other things. They were doing free Toast trainings. And I did all my own Zoom, open, closed, did everything on Pathways. And they encouraged me to be really creative with trying to get people to attend. And the way I created promotions for Pathways, they gave me a whole lot of freedom and encouragement. And that first, let's say, or 2 years that I was Pathways chair, because I've been Pathways chair pretty much every year since, I will say that it was such a thrill ride learning all these new things. And when COVID came, guess what? Our club was able to jump right into Zoom because I'd already been teaching on Zoom since the previous July and 2019, and I had a lot of experience. I bought my own account, and we have been ever since. And we're so much better at Zoom than we were initially. But I created a Zoom tutorial where I mentored all the club members on how to operate a club meeting in Zoom. And it just became this wonderful creative challenge for me. And because of all the things I did, devoting myself to the district and being the Pathways chair and trying to make Pathways as accessible to everyone as possible, Agnes made me Toastmaster of the Year for the district that year. So I was like, oh my gosh, I was so shocked. I was sitting there going, me? Are you serious? I am not. I never expected that. That was a total shock because that wasn't why I was doing it. I was doing it because I want Toastmasters to thrive, not just this century, but into the next one. And if Pathways is our education program, then for the highest good, I really want it to be accessible for every member. That's my goal. I want you all to have fun with it and learn with it. And Gillian!
Yeah, again, I love this. I'm loving this conversation. But I think the biggest thing I heard there was step up. You've just got to step up. And I know some people have come on here tonight because you're interested in learning more about mentorship. You may be looking at what you're looking to do for mentorship, whether it's mentoring a club or whether it's mentoring an individual within the Toastmasters journey. The biggest thing I can say to you is ask a protege that you want to work with, that you see needs some support. How can I help you? Because that sometimes is the biggest challenge. You getting over yourself and thinking, how can I help them? What can I give? A bit like what Dawn was saying, me. Yeah, you've got the skills. Everybody has the skills to help somebody else. It's just leaning in and being there for them. So I think for me, my mentoring started because somebody gave me a quick, swift kick up the bahookie to get my icebreaker done. And then the VP of membership role. So these things started really setting me on that path. But that's the piece that challenged me. And somehow the stubborn Scot came out and saying, I'll show you how to do that. But at the end of the day, it really is just asking somebody, can you help? Or how can I help? That sometimes is the biggest barrier as individuals, us admitting to ourselves, yeah, I think I can do that. Now I should reach out to them. Back to you, Mitesh.
Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives. Our final and the last question is, if you could please give us one piece of advice for your past mentor or protege self, what would it be? If you could give your past mentor protege self one piece of advice, what it would be? Who would like to go first, please?
I'll start. The biggest
Thank
thing
you.
I would say is build a relationship first. Build that relationship and build it, as Jennifer mentioned earlier, build that trust. Don't be the person at an event going in and giving everybody your business card or giving everybody, I'm looking here, contact me, contact me. Actually start with, hi, how can I help? What are you looking at doing? Dawn mentioned about the open-ended questions earlier, really soliciting information from the members or the clubs that we're serving. So be open, build that relationship first, and don't be the one that's just giving out unsolicited advice before they've even asked for help. That's the biggest piece of advice that I would give. Dawn, what about you?
One of the things I would say to myself is be kind to yourself. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to say yes to everyone. You can actually do this in a way that creates balance in your life and that doesn't set you up to become overwhelmed. That you can actually just always focus on being honest with the person. I would love to mentor you, but right now I'm mentoring these many people or these many things, and you might be better served by someone else. Or if you want me still to mentor you, we'd have to work it out in a way that it works for both of us. So to have that inner willingness to play it out and ask those questions so people don't have an unfair expectation for themselves and for you. So be kind to them and to you. And that, I think, also helps build that trust we are talking about. Because if you're trying too hard to do everything perfectly and have be answers for everyone, and you don't have them, even when I'm teaching pathways, I say, hey, I've read everything, but there are times where you're going to ask me something I don't know, and I'll say, I'll look it up. I'll get back to you. Put an email in here, and I will respond, I promise. But I may not remember right this minute. So you don't have to be perfect. I don't know. Anybody else have perfection issues? So I'm always working on being kinder with myself and and being more generous with everyone. Kind and generous with everyone. Thank you. Jennifer.
Yes. And I think my one takeaway summarizes what both of you said, I think very nicely, which is make sure that whether you are the mentor or the protege, that you're setting expectations for the relationship up front. And that covers a lot of what we've talked about today. As the protege, it's important that you are intentional about the mentor-protege relationship. And I did see a question in the chat about what do you do if your protege isn't as committed as you are? Well, then that relationship probably needs to be dissolved because the protege in a mentoring relationship really needs to be driving that relationship and being intentional. And they should take ownership for the relationship, driving the meetings, driving the conversations, also being setting expectations up front about the open and honest relationship that you're going to have so that you can be transparent with each other and know that you are in a sphere of confidence, that your mentor is not going to share your personal details with anyone else. And finally, as the mentor, show commitment to the relationship. Setting those expectations up front sets the stage for a good working relationship. And
Yeah.
Mitesh, I know we are running
Yeah,
out.
we probably need to get the Q&A if we're going to have any,
Yeah,
right?
we got 3 more minutes.
No, but for the
Three more.
Q&A, the Q&A is supposed to be the last 10 minutes, right?
As you've
Okay.
noticed, we don't lack for words, so we might be running for minutes.
We like talking about mentorship.
Passionate.
Shall we move on to the Q&A?
Yes.
Thank you. With that, we come to the end of our panel discussion. Next up, we have the question and answer session. This is one of the most awaited segments of this panel discussion. So for our first question is, how have you seen technology and modern communication change or affect the traditional mentor-protege dynamic? How have you seen technology and modern communication change or affect the traditional mentor-protege dynamic?
I can answer that one. I am so happy with Zoom. I don't know about you guys, but I used to get together with people in person, and that really limited how many people I could mentor or help. I'd be helping people after meetings. They'd be kind of in a line. It was holding us up. My husband's going like this, you know. So now with Zoom, I can say, hey, let's set up a Zoom meeting. And I know it's not exactly the same, and I still give people feedback, you know, when we meet in person, we have hybrid meetings once a month. But for so many reasons and with situations, it's so wonderful to be able to meet on Zoom and actually see a face, hear their voice. And honestly, folks, isn't this the future of public speaking? How many of you attend YouTube University? I go on YouTube all the time to learn new things. Every time I'm puzzled about something, I go on YouTube and type it in, and I see about 10 different people have done a YouTube video on that subject. So to me, it's like, hello, why aren't those all Toastmasters? Toastmasters, we can be doing this. We could create our own channels, have subscriptions. We can learn so much from all the people on YouTube already, and we can use those Toastmaster skills and impact people we may never meet. I just love it. And you guys may have different ideas. Jennifer?
The one thing that I would add to that, Dawn, I agree with you. I think that it definitely facilitates the mentor-protege relationship. It also makes it much easier to find mentors outside of your club, or if you're in a professional setting, to find a mentor outside of the office that you might report to. So there's flexibility there. One other thing, and they mention this in the Toastmasters Mentor Project, is to also be mindful of setting boundaries. And with the availability of technology, sometimes you can find that that relationship can become a little bit overwhelming if you have a protege, or it could be the mentor, but I think sometimes, especially if you're setting expectations that your protege is driving the conversation, that the technology can be overused if they're pinging you all the time, texting you because they have questions every time something comes up in their life, that then you need to set clear boundaries as to what is expected of your relationship. But other than that, I think it allows for a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, I would just say the boundaries is very important. Nothing more to add except those boundaries, because you can get overwhelmed. Just think about why we do a club success plan, to plan and create those boundaries. Can you tell the club success plans are on my mind right now?
Woohoo!
They're due. They're
Approaching.
due. They're due. We could
Back
do
to
a
you,
chorus.
Mitesh.
They're due on September 30th. That's tomorrow, folks. Club success plan. I know I get pathways questions by text in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'll answer this when I can. All right.
Mhm.
Any other questions, Mitesh?
Yes, we have 5 more. We'll try and cover as many as possible. So, our next question is there a way to find others within Toastmasters International with similar mindsets, kind of like a subgroup with like ideas? Who'd like to go first?
I can actually comment on that because I have taken part in what they call the Odyssey program. So it's not Toastmasters International as such, but it is somewhat affiliated with Toastmasters, and they do have Toastmasters that are part of that network. So I think somebody might have mentioned it in the chat. I think I saw it come up briefly. But yes, the Odyssey, I think Odyssey Network it's called, and it is kind of like that mentorship piece, and it's generally Toastmasters that are part of that. So that's something to look into.
The other thing I would add to that is just the value of networking. If you want to find other Toastmasters to share ideas with, you need to step outside of your club, participate in your area, participate in your division, participate in your district, go to the international convention. You will find lots of people from around the world there, but you're not going to find those people if you don't step outside of your club and maybe your comfort zone and do some networking.
I've been asked to be on panels about pathways updates. So I have done them in like last October when all those new updates came out. I went to a panel in Texas and it was a really fun experience. And so you can do events outside your club with other people who have like interests. That official Toastmasters members page in Facebook is very full of people commenting and talking about different topics. You probably could like say, "Oh, there's someone I can I agree with." Yeah. So yes, you can invite them to your club. That's one of the great things about being on Zoom. Even with hybrid clubs, we have several members live in Arizona. We're in California in Burbank. We have 2 members in Idaho and 2 members in Arizona. And so you can have members from all over the world if the timing works right. I know, Mitesh, the timing does not work right for our club. in India. It just doesn't. But for other people, it does. So you can enlarge your idea of who could be a member in your club. And when COVID started, my husband and I went off to Denmark because I'm Danish. My mother was from Denmark, and we just had so much fun attending a club in Copenhagen. And there are people visiting clubs in South Africa. We are citizens of the planet now. We could be instrumental towards moving the planet towards world peace because we can communicate with people everywhere, folks. Can't we? Isn't that what
Yes,
we're
yes, we
doing?
can.
Treating everyone with respect, talking, about things that are Toastmasters instead of anything political. We can really have friendships across the planet. And I think it's advancing, the needle in the right direction towards us owning that we are people. We are people everywhere. We have so much more in common than anything that separates us. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for answering that question. Our next question is, what inspired each one of you to join Toastmasters? Was it love of speaking, job requirements, or something else? I'd like to go first.
I can go first. It was the opposite of love of speaking. Hated public speaking more than you can imagine. And that also translated into a job requirement because I was working for a consulting firm and they wanted me to be able to present in front of clients and at conferences, which wasn't going to work with the person who hated speaking in front of people. So I joined, and it has been a wonderful journey.
I was the same. I was basically told, learn how to present or find a new job. So again, remember I said about that stubborn Scot? She came into play and I went, I will show you. And the boss that said that to me one day came up to me when I did a lunch and learn on impromptu speaking. He said, well, I guess you took that challenge to heart, didn't you? Yes, I did. And I'm still going because we're still learning.
Well, for me, somebody approached me in the 1980s, and I was taking classes in hypnotherapy. And they said, you'd really benefit by joining a Toastmasters club. You could come join our club in Pasadena. And these were three older, like senior men. One was a retired policeman who was probably about 6'5", and this girl in the class with me said, they're just hitting on you. And so I did not join Toastmasters, but when my husband was encouraged by an entertainment attorney that it would benefit him to have it on his resume that he belongs to Toastmasters, he went to a Toastmasters club in storytelling and performing arts, and he asked me to come with him, so I did. And voila, here it is 16 years later, and we're both in Toastmasters still. He's here today on this call. And it's helped me so much as a public speaker and relating with people and feeling so much more at ease. Because even though I felt pretty at ease in my 20s, boy, if you haven't been doing public speaking for a while, those muscles start to atrophy. So I encourage anybody, if you know people who were public speakers or confident speakers, but it's been a long time, remind them, you actually need to keep doing it if you want to keep those skills fresh and be able to really be yourself, have more authenticity. I'm always working to be better. I don't know, you guys also always trying to be better.
Yeah.
So I'm always wanting to be a better public speaker. And especially with Pathways, I'm on Engaging Humor a second time because I want to bring in more humor. I know the value of having people laugh. It relaxes them. Things don't seem so scary. So I'm always working on being funnier. Thank you. And I think Mitesh has disappeared on us.
Oh, he's back.
He's back.
Yeah, so our next question is, if you are a seasoned Toastmaster or a senior Toastmaster in your club or district, you are often invited to take on multiple proteges. With your vast experience, would you be able to define a healthy number of proteges that a mentor should take up? Over to you.
I think that's an individual question that you need to answer for yourself. Everyone's number is going to be different. For some people, based on your involvement in Toastmasters, what you have going on outside of Toastmasters, because we do all have lives outside of Toastmasters, though it's hard to believe sometimes, I know. So just depending on the phase of life you're in, what you have going on outside of Toastmasters, how much you've committed to other roles, other organizations, your job, your family, all of those things are going to determine. And even for an individual, for myself, for example, I can't say Jennifer's number is 3 proteges because it depends. Some years it may be more, some less. Some proteges need more of your time than others, and so maybe you can fit in more relationships. There is not a one size fits all answer to that.
Yeah.
I would say.
And some
Right.
mentoring relationships are shorter term than others, like
Yes,
being on a
exactly.
guidance committee for an HPL. That's
Yeah.
5 meetings. That's really mentoring, but it's 5 meetings. So if you were asking me like mentoring in preparation to be a contest chair, that's a little different, so each mentoring opportunity is different depending on what's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and is the person retired?
Thank you.
Yeah, fair.
And not district director.
Yes, you're district director. Aren't you mentoring your whole district?
Sort of, yes, right?
Sort of, right?
Thanks for that, ladies.
No, I mean you're teaching, you're supporting them at those district councils on who are you as a
I am serving.
yeah.
Yep, loving it.
And mentoring the new PQD, right? Once you become the district director, you're helping the new PQD in their role. So
Yeah.
you're always mentoring the person who's coming up in the role you just finished. Isn't that what we all do, folks? And
I think that is a very good point, though. Like, again, as club officers, you should be mentoring the people that you think are going to be your successors.
Yes. Mentoring successors, folks. That's really important in a club. And here's the big key that I think we haven't talked about today is club retention. If you have a good relationship with all those people in your club that you've been mentoring in one way or another, formally or informally, aren't they more inclined to renew their membership because they have a relationship with you? They like you. They
That's
like
the
you
hope.
socially. They want to be around you. Right now, I think we're at 99.9% renewals in our club. We did 100% renewals last time. We're at 99. Well, one of our members came in as let's say she came in as a transfer and transferred out again. She didn't renew. So she's our only non-renewal. So we have 34 members. We just had a new person who was not a new person. He's someone who came back. So, that is the kind of retention you can have if you build camaraderie and you like each other and you're mentoring each other and everybody helps everybody in your club. Not as a force, not trying to be overbearing or condescending about anything. Just say, you need help? You can build a lot of trust within a club that you're all working together to be thriving as individuals and as a group.
We have a couple more questions.
Okay.
Would you like to continue? If it
Sure.
goes beyond.
My tummy isn't grumbling too much. No, it's 6:15. Go ahead.
How does the panel handle a member who needs a mentor, but doesn't want to be mentored?
Oh boy, I've heard that one.
Some members sometimes feel needing a mentor shows less knowledge or weakness or similar. And second, are proteges assigned in a formal manner in the club, or mentees pick their mentor? When is the relationship mentor and proteges paired up? Immediately after 3 meetings or something else? So yeah, over to you.
So I'd like to start with one experience that I had that I think is really important for us to bring back to our clubs and share as we talk about mentors. And it goes back to what I said earlier about the difference between a mentor and a coach. Because if your protege is concerned that it means that they don't know enough, they probably don't understand that relationship. And I say that from experience. I stepped into a new, very senior role in my organization, and I went to my boss, the CTO of the organization, and said, I'm struggling. I'm operating at a new level of the organization. I don't know the politics. I don't know all of the things that are expected of me. I think I need some help. Maybe I need some coaching. Maybe I need a mentor. And he said to me, you don't need a coach. You know what you're doing. You're a good leader. You don't need a coach, but you probably do need a mentor. And he found me a mentor in our C-suite. And that was very beneficial to me. But I think that conversation reinforces the difference between coaching and mentoring. And mentors are there to walk alongside you and help you on the journey. They use their experience to help you, but it's not necessarily a teaching relationship where you don't know what you're doing, you need someone to step in and tell you how to do it. So I would start with that. But I also will reiterate what I said earlier is that the relationship has to be intentional. And if you have someone in your club who you think needs a mentor and they don't want one, you can't force that. You can't force someone into a mentorship relationship.
Yeah, 100%.
I totally agree with you because we've had people come in our club, and no matter what I say, they seem to think that having a mentor means that somehow they're deficient.
Right.
And then years after being in the club, they go, I now realize that I really would have benefited from having mentoring because without being my mentor, you've been mentoring me all along. And basically, I was doing it simply by saying, you want to take this role, so here are the supports for that role, and you can use them as little or as much as you like. So I'd give them a script, I'd give them the tracking sheets, I'd say, if you need any help, ask. I'm here for you. And that's basically all I was doing and there have been several in our club like that, because they're so used to being in charge and being a leader in their organization outside of Toastmasters that the last thing they thought they needed was a mentor. And then, so I just ask them those open-ended questions like, well, you're really smart, you're capable, you don't need someone to tell you what to do. I'm just here as a resource for you. I'm very non-inflicted. So if you do that with those people, often you can help. Now, if you're talking about somebody who has an issue, which is bothering the other members, that's a completely different question. So our club has a club culture. Not every club does, and they aren't required to. Nobody's required to have a club culture. Our club does. When everything started to become so divisive in our country, we, many years ago, 2016, we developed a club culture that we don't talk on hot topics. We just decided we want to be informative and entertaining or other topics, but nothing that's considered a hot button topic. And so if you get someone in your club and you give them the club culture and they still want to be, one person called themselves a provocateur. I said, well, I think this is so powerful. If you want to be a podcaster, you might get millions of people subscribing and all kinds of people who want to be advertisers on your podcast, and you have the skills and all the inner knowing to do that. And I just would applaud it. If you want us to do it in our club, on the other hand, and I wasn't their mentor, I said, this is how you could do it. You could make it about a bio of this person, or you could call it it's a writer's club, so it's a genre, like social satire. If you were willing to work with me on it to just tweak the topic a little, it'd be totally acceptable in our club. And they weren't. So that's when someone doesn't want mentoring and doesn't want coaching, and they are not harmonious with your club. And usually that person leaves on their own, right? Has anybody had anybody that didn't leave on their own? If they aren't in sync and in harmony with your particular club members and your club culture, then it is a fair question to say, we want you to be successful. And I don't know if you feel we're going to be too confining for you. There's plenty of clubs out there that won't be.
Yeah, I think there's also the element where you take the formal word mentor out of it, and you could turn around and say, hey, I see you're struggling with X, or
Yeah.
do you have any questions with such and such? I'd love to be able to support you and just help you guide if you've got that. So you take the word mentor out of it and make it more of an informal conversation. Because I think sometimes people get hung up on the word mentor because they do think, like Jennifer mentioned, they do think it is, well, they want to tell me what to do. No,
Yes.
it's not. It's being of service to that person. It's really letting them understand that, we are here to, again, like Jennifer said, to walk alongside you, to give you the resources that you need. And I think sometimes by putting the mentor protege framework in place and asking them to sign that and have a look at what's your goal and things can really intimidate a new member. So maybe just step back in that piece and just ask them, do you need support with anything? Or if you see an area that they're struggling in, just say, hey, I see you're cautious on this area. Can I help you? Make it more of that informal conversation.
I think it also helps from the mentor perspective as well, because sometimes you'll have members of your club who feel like they don't have enough experience, they haven't been in long enough, they haven't done enough things to be a mentor to someone in the club. We actually had a member of our club who, for an HPL, decided to try to introduce a new program to our club called the Buddy System, which was basically informal mentoring. But instead of calling it the mentor program and filling out a form and setting constraints around what that relationship needs to look like, we just said, if you're new to the club, we're going to assign you a buddy. A buddy sounds less intimidating for both parties, and that person will talk to you before the meeting. You guys can talk outside of the meeting. All we ask is that you have a few conversations and help the new member assimilate to the club. People seem to like that.
Our last question now. Thank you for sharing your experiences on there and sharing your ideas. Our last question from the audience tonight is, what is the role of vulnerability and authenticity in building trust between a mentor and protege? What is the role of vulnerability and authenticity in building trust between a mentor and a protege? Who would like to go first, please?
I will start on that one and I'll say there is no role of a mentor without building trust and vulnerability. Without being open, transparent, and completely accountable to the protege and to yourself in a mentorship relationship, you will never get a vulnerable relationship without being open and building that trust from the ground up. And you do not violate that trust, because once trust is violated, it is very hard to redevelop that. I'm sorry, I'm getting goosebumps because I'm very passionate about that piece.
No,
But
I
yeah,
agree with you 100%, Jillian. I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. And that's on both sides of the relationship. You have to be a good mentor, you have to be willing to be a little bit vulnerable too and share those scary, those hard, maybe those uncomplimentary stories about yourself and vice versa, and know that this is a safe space. We can talk about hard things because that's how we're going to learn from each other.
Absolutely, authenticity is so important, and you can't be recommending your mentee work on their authenticity if you aren't. So you have to practice what you're teaching. In fact, aren't we all best mentors when we're, by example, we're doing the thing that we would want them to learn from and be our best selves? And it's very important to be authentic. And somebody recently was learning, for instance, they never taken the Zoom timer role. And as you all know, that's not the easiest role. So thank you, Venkat. And they struggled with it. And I said, don't feel bad. I've done the timer role at a district conference because Circe had so much confidence in me when I told her, I don't want that role. That's like my least favorite role in the world. And she had me do it with a timer so that it precisely went on and it would show on the video and it was all that kind of stuff. And I did it. And yet when somebody asked me to do it in an area contest, I suddenly had this mind fart and I could not remember how to put up the virtual backgrounds. I thought they had to make me a co-host so I could virtually share it. I go, what am I thinking? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I started working the timer colors. And because I don't take that role very much. I don't like that role. I'm so happy when people like it because it's not easy to, I get so caught up listening to the stories that I lose track of time. I don't really want to sit there staring at the clock. So thank you for everyone who ever takes a timer role. I appreciate you. But my vulnerability telling her this, I think made her feel better with whatever mistake she was having with being the Zoom timer her first time that weekend. So that's what we can do by sharing. Yeah, we don't have to be perfect. We can all make mistakes. Even experienced people make mistakes. We just do our best. Meeting role mentoring. Hello, everyone. Everyone needs meeting role mentoring. Yeah, we're all imperfectly perfect. Thank you. Anything else, Mitesh? Are we done?
Yeah, we are done. And finally, I would like to wrap up now. A special thank you and a huge round of applause to our panelists, all role players, timers, Zoom Master, Toastmaster, and the evaluator for witnessing this panel discussion behind the scenes. And you, the audience, without you, I don't think this panel discussion would be possible. And thank you for making this a very memorable event. My wish is that you take something that you have learned during this panel discussion and apply it forward.
And thank you, Mitesh. You did a fantastic job.
Excellent. Mitesh,
you.
I did have a question from someone who couldn't attend tonight. They
Right.
wanted to know if this was being recorded, which we know it was. Where can people find the recording after the fact? Will you send that out to those who registered or post it somewhere for them to find? How will we direct people to the recording?
I have the recording.
Ooh, Audrey.
The voice from outside. I have the recording. So I will get it to the panelist and then we can go from there. How's that?
That sounds great. Thank
And
you.
if it's posted on YouTube somewhere, then we can share it in our districts if we like it, right, folks?
Exactly.
Depending on our review.
Let's do some good editing, Mitesh.
What?
That's right.
Wait, would you have him take out the word fart? Oh, well, I didn't say anything that was vulgar, too vulgar, right? No, I think that's
Absolutely
no
not.
longer considered vulgar. Oh, so thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I hope it helped. I hope it
Thanks,
encouraged you
thanks
to
everyone,
want to do
and
more mentoring.
And
Yeah,
Mitesh
thanks,
is
everyone.
smiling.
Thank each of you, and hats off to each one of you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
night.
Thank you.
Good day.
Thank
Good
you.
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mitesh, you did a great job. Good job. And you're smiling. Look at that. You are smiling.
Thank you, Timer Venkat.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you so
you,
much. And
Venkat.
I didn't get a chance to show red card at any time. So we have
Red.
done we're done in time, and of course we took extra time for question and answers, but those answers are really important for the audience since those questions came from the audience here.
Throw up that red
Excellent job.
background now. Throw up the red background now. Then you can do it.
So this is our extended time, so there is no timer